Hello and welcome to a buildingSMART webinar. This webinar is part of the buildingSMART Virtual Summit for Spring 2022. Thank you for joining. My name is Sheila Karailam and I will be your moderator today. Today's webinar is titled RIR Project Work and Workshop. Our speakers today are Nick Nisbet, who is Director at AEC3 Limited and Vice Chair for buildingSMART UK and Ireland. And we also have Tomi, Henttinen, who is Chief Innovation Officer at Graphicon OI. This webinar is scheduled to last for 2 hours with a short Q&A and a workshop session at the end. The webinar is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event within 24 hours. Before I hand over to our speakers, I would like to remind you that your phone lines will remain muted for the duration of this webinar. If you have any questions or wish to make comments, please use this session-specific chat box in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. I would also like to bring your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favour any particular provider and are open, non-binding and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct, which is up on the screen now. And on that note, I would like to hand over to Nick.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. This is our second session, regulatory room session for the Spring Standards Summit. And we'd like to use it to present our current main project that we're working on in the regulatory room. As I mentioned yesterday, the role of the rooms in buildingSMART is to have an open discussion and forum, but also to make proposals for how the buildingSMART standards can be improved. And I'm really pleased that Tomi Henttinen has joined us to talk to us about the regulatory information requirements, which we see as being central to making sure that the buildingSMART standards support regulations and requirements across the globe. So I'd like to hand over to Tomi and ask him to update us about the project.
Thank you, Nick. So about the project, we started the project about a year ago, and now this is kind of let's say that we are we should be halfway through. To be honest, we are not really halfway through yet, but we have been doing significant progress within this project. So I will give you an update what's been done and what is the project all about. So I will first introduce you to what is the purpose of the project, what is the kind of the scope, and what we are planning to do within the project. For those of you who haven't heard this project before, or maybe have forgotten what this project is all about. Then I will go to project status. Tell a little bit. I'm telling a little bit about what we have been doing during the past 6 months, and then I will put out a call for participation, which is already active or it's already published in buildingSMART website. But I will remind you, we still need more stakeholders to join the project. And at the end of the session, we will have kind of a mini workshop, a discussion where we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts and what are your needs in this for this project and for regulatory room in general? So the project team, as Nick said, this is governed by regulatory room. The project is led by me and supported by Nick Nisbet, who is the room leader and the project technical lead. Then of course Sheila, who's talking earlier here, she's our room coordinator, so she has a kind of vital role from buildingSMART side, and of course the buildingSMART from the buildingSMART management office, Richard Kelly, who is responsible for projects. Here you can see the contact info. A primary email address is regulatory@buildingsmart.org. Please use that if you have any questions after the session, and then Sheila will look after that. All questions will be taken care and answered. You can also find more information about the project on the buildingSMART website in our regulatory room section. About the project itself, the purpose of the project is mainly to ensure that the IFC standards meets the needs for building regulation. And why is this important? Well, first of all, the regulatory approval processes, they are a major source of delay and risk for building projects worldwide. The regulatory process is the only common process that all projects that they have to go through this, and in a way, because it is the only kind of common process that which is sort of common to all projects, whatever the type is. It means that it's also one of the kind of most important key processes. So in order to make the process smooth and risk-free, we will need to improve the machine readability of the information which is used in the process. So there is ongoing development globally in many countries, improving and to develop and to improve these processes and also to increase the machine readability of the information. And our goal here in buildingSMART is, of course, to have the vendor independent, to develop the vendor independent international conventions to encourage the development and adoption of these new processes. The project scope is we are focusing on buildings, and so we have excluded other types of permitting. So now we are focusing in this project mainly to buildings. And also we are focusing on the data that is used in the applications, such as building identification and characteristics of the buildings. Also, one important field of the project is to study life safety, structural and fire safety related information. One of the major kind of information-wise development, biggest developments in here, at least here in Europe, is the energy and all the environmental issues and for example carbon footprint calculations within the building permits and the building permitting process. And of course that's also interesting data for us and the information used in for those calculations. And then under the topic other regulatory topics within the project, we may find some new fields that needs to be covered. But let's say that we are aiming for key information, and we are aiming for capturing kind of the first steps. So we are not trying to reach the moon from the sky, but we are more or less kind of trying to capture the first steps and the information needed for these key processes. We have 5 of the work packages plus the project management, which is kind of the work package 0. In the first one, we are capturing the business needs and reviewing the existing property sets and data dictionaries used in different countries, and building up the kind of requirements for the future development. In the second work package, we are focusing in the IDM development, information delivery manuals. In third one, that is then developed further to model view definitions. In work package 4, we will focus. We are focusing into property set development and property set. Data dictionary population. And then finally, in the fifth work package, we are building implementation guidance for end users and for example, for technical room here in buildingSMART International. In the project information, some of the highlights from the work packages. So in the project information and identification, kind of the main the main data or main studies are for location. Location is one of the most kind of critical, in a way simple but really complex, since we have dozens of maybe hundreds of different coordinate systems worldwide. How do we do that with IFC? How do we handle how do we combine all these systems, and how do we develop IFC further so that it supports the needed coordinate systems? Site and building, of course, as a data objects, and then a standardized IFC solution for the location data. Then identification, classifications, and historical classes. This is typical information, especially, or for example, the identification. This can be found in traditional title blocks, address, designer information, the type of the project, and so on. And then we have also international references like the INSPIRE standard, which is giving us, for example, the historical classes of or classification of different types of buildings. And then the third one for the project information would be the zones and different types of areas, and how to actually calculate these areas. Life safety, of course, the whole building permitting. One of the major topics, or two of the major topics of all building permits are health and safety, and this is basically what we are checking when we are checking the buildings or the designs of the buildings and permitting in the permitting process. So of course, life safety is key things. They are key topics here in our project as well. We have kind of a liaison project here in buildingSMART about fire escape routes, and some of the things that we have listed in our project are also studied in other projects, and of course we work in close collaboration with those projects. But then some things like accessibility could be something which would be more relevant to regulatory processes and regulatory studies. The type of structural, this is of course related to safety, the structural safety, but it's also connected to carbon footprint calculations and energy, embedded energy things. So this is kind of raw data for those type of analysis and calculations. And when we talk about building performance, of course, the same data is relevant in here as well. But in top of that, we have the energy sources, different type of systems, and also demolition and waste. These are basically many of these things are like the demolition waste, carbon footprint, embedded carbon. Those are based on similar processes, similar processes like, for example, used by the quantity takeoffs used in cost estimation. So we have a lot of similar needs and similar information helping different types of processes. And these we are going to study through the IDMs, the information delivery manual methods. The deliverables from the project, we have from the different approval use cases. In the study that was done by the regulatory room a couple of years ago, we identified 6 common process points or points in the process in the building permitting process. And now we have like worldwide, globally common key points. And in this project, we are concentrating on 3 of those. So in concept and zonal approval phase, in a technical design and construction approval phase, and then approvals for occupation and use. And those are kind of our major use cases. Also, the deliverables we are planning to do information templates or templates. And if required, proposals for the technical room for adding new entities to IFC standard, maybe also relationship proposals for the technical room, and then property and quantity set proposals also for technical room. And of course, at the end of the project, we are developing a summary report. So then few words about the project status, where we are at the moment and what we have been doing for the past 6 months or so. First of all, the overview. We like about a year ago, we started to develop the activity proposal, which was then sent and circulated and sent and circulated by our regulatory room steering committee, and then it was sent to the standards committee, which then approved the standards committee executive, then approved the activity proposal, if I recall correctly, in last July. Then we have developed a business case paper, which has been circulated to prospective participants. Last autumn, we started the project kind of a soft launch, and we have been doing like prerequisite studies or prerequisite information studies, and also trying to engage more stakeholders to the project. We have confirmed 4 countries who have confirmed the interest. We have some funding partners already in the project, but since we still feel that there's a need for much broader involvement, we launched in January a formal call for participation, and that can be found from buildingSMART website. Then about the work packages that we have been working within the last 6 or 9 months. The work package 1, requirements. So we have been comparing the current guidelines and specifications from the project partners, and the common findings are that the standards fields of the current IFC specification, they are not they are inadequate for the information required by the building permit process. And the other finding was that they are not logically supported by authoring tools, and these have forced the many countries in developing their own property sets, guidelines, and kind of tips and tricks to gain the information needed. And this, of course, is not an optimal solution because it has led to kind of unstandardized use of IFC, which will probably help you to start your national like adoption of IFC in building permit processes, but in the long run, it's not really feasible because the standard is developing and the tools are developing, and if you every time need to update and maintain your local national kind of harmonized property sets and standards, it will not be really effective or kind of it won't be really a good way to do things, and it doesn't support the machine readable information workflows. So this is kind of one of our key findings, and probably this will lead to additional needs to or needs to add new properties and property sets to IFC standard, which is not kind of, it's not difficult, but at the same time we need to be careful what we specify so that we support all the stakeholders and all like we support the global approach. In the second work package, which is IDM development, we have started preparations to use the IDM specification for and the use cases for data exchange. We will use the ISO 2941 Part 1, the Information Delivery Manual Standard, as a format and also as a method to develop those. The ISO 2941 was originally developed by buildingSMART like almost 20 years ago, but it's been like the IFC standard. It has been raised to ISO level, and the first version of the ISO standard was published 2011. And now the buildingSMART use case management platform utilizes the same methods and utilizes also the concepts of the ISO 2941. So our aim is to use also the buildingSMART use case management platform to publish these use cases and the IDMs that we are developing. during the 6 months or so a period we have been working with this project, we have now developed the first draft of the first IDM, which is for identification data use case, and this has been now circulated, and it's further been the aim is to develop that further within the project. Then in work package 3, we haven't done anything yet, but in work package 4, in the property set development and data dictionary population, we have now, based on the property tables developed by Estonia and Finland, we have decided to create a common spreadsheet type of a template where we can start collecting the needed attributes and properties to and to help that and that way to help to explore the possibilities of how to implement these properties within the existing IFC standard, and also what would be the needs to develop the IFC standard further in this section. In Estonia, Estonia has already launched a national system which reads IFC files and utilize the national property sets standard to automatically read information from the models. Here in Finland, we are now aiming, there is a new law being developed as we speak, and it will be hopefully activated at the beginning of 2024, and starting from January 2024, IFC is I would say not mandatory. It's mandatory for certain types of building, but it's the new legislation will support IFC heavily. Also, IFC is now at the moment being approved as one of the official archiving formats, which is required for this new legislation also to be adopted. So from the beginning of 2024, we will have both IFC as an official archiving format, but also kind of a mandatory, or let's say almost mandatory file format for building permits. There is some exclusions, for example, minor projects or small renovation projects that don't need to provide the IFC, but let's say normal type of projects, or from a small to the large scale new buildings, in all of those buildings IFC will be required. And of course, this will put a lot of new pressure to IFC as a format, and also not just IFC, but the information which is inside the IFC. So there's a big needs to harmonize the data itself as well. As I said, we are still needing more about work package 5. We haven't, so for the guidance documents, we haven't done any work yet. That will be started. This work will be started in the next period. As I said, we still need more stakeholders for this project. So we have set out a call for participation. I will briefly go through that as well, but also, as said, we will have at the end of this session, after my presentation, we will have a workshop where we would like to hear from you, your needs and your ideas, how you can participate, and also what are your needs for this project. So stay tuned.
Okay.
The why act now? As I said, there is a strong worldwide interest in deployment of open standards for regulatory processes, and that was revealed by a survey that we did some time ago in the regulatory room. There is globally several countries who are studying or already have adopted BIM-based processes in the permits, and some of them are utilizing also open standards. There's significant progress being done in Scandinavia, UK, Japan, and South Korea specifically. But this is not limited to these countries, the interest. And there is a renewed interest to use buildingSMART data dictionary to map the local standards or local attribute sets or local property sets, so that we can have a universal resource for different information needs and information sources. The focus, in many cases, the focus is on life safety and environmental regulations, which are common across most regulatory systems. The added value, we are aiming to have improved communication between the applicants and regulators through machine readable information. We are aiming to have improved pre-checking of applications, so that the applicants can before setting in the application, they can already check or validate the data which is inside their designs. Of course, improved compliance checking and improved turnaround of applications, so that the time spent on handling the applications will be decreased, and also the results can be more predictable, and there's like a less risk in the process itself. And based on those or with these goals, we are aiming to have improved accuracy and predictability of the outcomes. How do we work with our sponsors? So the sponsoring organizations engage the project editorial team to capture the key building information and that control the application, that decisions found in their own regulations, and these will be mapped to existing or new items in buildingSMART IFC, which then supports the processes of our sponsors and other stakeholders. There is two ways to participate. Project sponsorship, which is basically funding member of the project. And then the second option is agreement to participate, which lets you to indicate if you wish to contribute as a part of the project team if financial sponsorship is not possible. And we have also identified that many times direct sponsoring of the project itself is difficult for national or governmental bodies or authorities in general. But if you want to be part of the project, nevertheless, if you want to be part of the project and contribute, we can find ways to how you can support our work and how you can participate as well. So please contact us and we can have more in deep discussion about this. So that was end of my presentation. The report, what we have been doing so far, and now we have reserved a time for discussion and kind of a small workshop in order to collect your views and your needs and also kind of support us in moving forward with this project.
Good.
So
thanks, Tomi. That's really
so far
good. We've had some comments and discussions coming up in the chat, and let's start by reviewing those. Anguis's team came in quite early with a comment that each nation has its own laws, its own requirements. Are we intending to try and standardize the legal requirements, or are we working on the common requirements? I think that's there's been some good answers, but Tomi, do you just want to explain the relationship between the legal, the overall requirements and the individual properties we're talking about?
Yeah, to start with, harmonizing laws around the world is mission impossible, and we are not definitely not we are not trying to do that. But the information that is used in the processes kind of in the, so basically the information, as I see it, IFC provides or designs in general, but or design, it doesn't mean it doesn't matter if it's a paper-based design or CAD-based design, or is it a BIM-based design. But anyway, the designs and the like IFC, it provides information, and the information, like if we are talking about the raw information, that is more or less the same worldwide. Of course, there could be some local, national differences. So I guess that, for example, in UK, you are not that interested how many saunas you will have in your buildings. Like here in Finland, we are really we are definitely interested about saunas, but so they are kind of local needs and no local differences. But if we are talking about the common data, like address, type of the building, and of course the type of the building can be a classification, but to have a place or in the IFC structure that we have harmonized attribute in IFC language, it's called property and property set. So that we have harmonized properties and property sets where we put that information. I think that is our goal. The information, like using classification systems or maybe national codes, that can be local, but the goal would be kind of that wherever you are, you always know that the type of the building is in a certain property set and in a certain property inside the IFC file. So then the systems which are reading the information from the IFC file, they can be global systems because they know that always I'm reading this piece of information from this attribute. The information itself can be local and based on local national standards. I hope that this answers the question.
Yes. So that allows us to keep the scope of the project well within the domain of buildingSMART International by providing the standards for the individual metrics, the smallest tests that you apply, whether it's type of building or width of opening or whatever, knowing that every country will have its own ways of putting those together, including exceptions and allowances and so on and so forth. So I think it's really important that we make that distinction. It's a global industry using global products, and so we must find the global or the common factors that we want to manage. So yes, thank you, Ivan, for making that point in the chat. The role of BSI in its international work is to find those commonalities. It may well be that individual chapters have a pick up and maybe supplement it by helping the local community to focus on anything that really is specific to a domain, like the number of saunas and so on. So okay, and then thanks to Frank Doherty. Regulators are usually the last in the race. Yes, I think we need to answer that and provide the help and assistance and confidence that they can allow for structured information in their submissions. And if we can, at an international level, get 90% of the information requirements documented, then individual jurisdictions can pick up and use that to introduce it locally.
I think that our, for example, our survey, what we did some time ago, and other findings worldwide reveal that the authorities, the building permitting authorities, they are quite local. Many times they are quite local. Of course, there could be big units in big cities. They have big units and they have lots of people working in. But I think that it's quite typical that in small municipalities there is only a couple of people working in the building permit authority doing the building permits. They don't have extra resources to develop IFC like IFC property sets or IFC rules or IFC guidelines. So in order to adopt new like information sources such as IFC, it has to be provided, the information, first of all, it has to be in a way that it's not extra work. If it's extra work, they will never adopt it. So I think that the carrot here needs to be that it will be more automatic, and it will provide the information quickly, and the information itself is more reliable than it is today. Because today, typically you need to read drawings, you need to kind of study the drawings, so there's a lot of time that you are spending in collecting information as working in the authority in the building permit process. So the regulatory information requirements project, one of the goals is to make the information flow more automatic, so that the information which is address, maybe design information, maybe it could be more complex information about the materials used in the building. But anyway, all the information should flow automatically from the design. So in the ideal goal would be kind of that once the building permit authority gets the IFC file and just clicks on the button, all the information comes automatically without spending time with the model. And I'm happy saying that in optimal solution, they don't even need to open the file itself. The system that they are using reads the information automatically. Of course, then IFC as a 3D format will give you more it will give you more benefits because it's more visual, and but that's from the data perspective. I think that if we can support the automatic workflows and automatic data processes, then we will make adopting IFC and adopting BIM in general possible for these small local units which don't have resources like the big cities.
Good, thanks. Rick has asked us to just summarize which countries are already involved.
We have UK, Scotland, of course, part of the UK, but Scotland specifically, Finland, Estonia, Japan. Japan through buildingSMART. Through regulatory room, and then we have been discussing also with we have some contacts in Italy. What else?
Yeah, I think that's the situation. We've tried to set up relationships with some of the other projects that are happening within Europe. Some of them, for example, in Czechoslovakia, don't expect to produce their results for maybe a year or so they've held back. And so I think what we want to do is to get the maximum involvement now in order to get a good proposal. I think when we start making proposals, then other countries will come on board to comment. I think that's the situation we're in at the moment. So I think we've got enough involvement to make a good start. But of course, the more countries that contribute, the faster we can work and the better we can work. Frank's also made the point that we're trying to create a chain of useful information here, and we need to make sure that we have an offering for the regulators so that they can see the benefits of moving in this direction. And that's part of the work of the regulatory room as a whole. And we are working on that. Ali Ismail has asked, will we also be considering standardization of element classification, object name conventions, and visualization colors?
The colors we excluded from this project. I know that it's it's a hot topic. We have been here, at least here in Finland, since there is the new legislation is being launched, and that has there's already several cities and municipalities who are already implementing and adopting IFC in their processes, and this has been the colors, like harmonized colors or standardized colors, and how using kind of the IFC models as visual for visualizations, or not really visualizations, but to visually check the application material. That is a big need, but at the same time, I think that we excluded that from this project because we thought that that's kind of a maybe too big step to take at this point. But of course, this can be reconsidered if we find a way to do this.
Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, I think many regulators will want to start by just accepting IFC models as supplementary information in order to help everyone to understand the project as a whole before going in and so on. So I think yes, people will want to share the information even before they start doing the systematic checking. As for object names, the IFC provides a pretty good ontology, set of objects to represent buildings and the things that comprise them. I don't think that in the international standards community there's been much of an appetite for object naming conventions and so on. So we have the IFC object classification or ontology, whatever you want to call it, which is sufficiently strong, I think, to organize the information requirements. But no, we don't intend to get into object names and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree that the IFC, as it is today, already provides us for building permitting processes. It provides us more or less all the object classes or entity classes that we need. There are some maybe some things or some entities that we probably would need to add in the future, and also the carbon footprint calculation probably will add more needs to this, so that we need to be more like more detailed. So we need maybe more detailing in the entities than the current IFC provides us today. But that can be also handled. So we don't. I'm not sure if we really need to change the entity structure or add too many new entities. We can solve that also by using harmonized properties and property sets. and then locally or nationally using a classification system. But this is also something that we need to study maybe a bit more in this project.
Many regulatory systems create their own classification systems internally, so that I don't think that they even adopt national classification policies. They have their own. Ali's also, well, thank you, Frank, for saying get out and lobby your regulators. Yes, I think this is both a supply side and a demand side problem. That we want regulators to be aware of this direction of travel and the opportunity for better, faster, more accurate processes. But we also want, of course, the demand to come from industry to say that it shouldn't take 200 days or 300 days to make these decisions, and that if people are investing in building information modeling, then one of the rewards should be to have a system that takes advantage of it. So it's on both sides that we need to go out and lobby. Ali as well has also asked a second question: which disciplines are we focusing on? And will we touch on modeling best practices? I think our focus is on building, and yes. So, Tomi, do you just want to remind us of the main areas that we are focusing on, starting with identification?
We had the building identification, location data. I have it there. So we have the location data, location identification, and then zones with usage and areas, life safety, and then building performance. Most of these, I would say that, of course, this is something that it varies in different countries. Here in Finland, for example, we know that architects are providing most of the information. So if we are looking at who are the designers, who are the disciplines who are providing the information here in Finland, it would be mainly architects. But of course, then we have information about heating and cooling systems. That's for mechanical designers. Maybe electrical designers providing the energy source information, and so on. So I would say that this goes and it differs to country. So it's really difficult to say that which kind of designer disciplines are involved. But I would say in general, designers, and that covers more or less the designers. Maybe the landscape designer is not involved in here. I don't know if the acoustical designer is involved in here. But yeah, the main design disciplines are some way or the other involved in the process. And then, of course, the authorities. I think that at least the experience that we have here in Finland is that the designers are quite ready for this, and they don't see a kind of a issue when they have new guidelines or new requirements to put the information into their IFC models. The kind of the biggest work that needs to be done is within the authorities, and how they are kind of so they are starting from very so their capabilities are very low at the moment in this field. So I think that it's there's two ways. There's also that we need kind of the guidelines and also local training, I guess. But it's the other way is to kind of seeing is believing, that when you see that the information comes automatically and you don't need to kind of every time study the model deeply, then I would think that that will kind of help the authority side to adopt also the models, and I see as a new tool for them.
Indeed, I'm not missing out Frank's comment, but I'd like to jump to Oyvind's comment. In Norway, it's possible to attach a BIM model to the building application before it is sent to the local authority, municipality. The model is checked that it contains all necessary information. The problem is that the local authority doesn't trust the model, and therefore the applicant is skeptical as to whether to put resources into the model. Paper and PDF still rules. I think there are two parts to that. One, what we can do is we can try and improve the trust in the model. As Frank says in reply, that a recognizable MVD on information quality will help. I think the relationship between the model and conventional drawings and submissions and paper and PDFs and so on is one that we have to address carefully, because there will be people who use paper. We have to address it by saying that if we can accelerate the process by using the model, then maybe we need to think differently about the drawings. Maybe they should be derived from the model rather than being submitted by the applicant. That's one of the ideas that they're exploring in Korea, because drawings have to be stamped and sealed and signed, and so on. So there are a number of possible relationships between it. But I think if there are advantages to the process of getting to an answer quicker using the model, then we can resolve that. If it still has to go through the paper-based checking anyway, then we can't possibly make progress. So we have to think through, organizations have to think through whether they can use the faster, better, more accurate opportunities of the model to get a better overall outcome. So
I think that the challenge is the kind of there's a long tradition in paper-based approach, and also all the kind of markings and how you read the paper-based designs. So I have compared the situation, the current situation with IFC is that we do have the IFC, but from the regulatory point of view, it's kind of like if you have a drawing, like traditional paper-based drawing, where all the lines have been drawn using the same line width and using the same line type. So we do have all the information in the IFC files, but it's difficult to read them because they are not really harmonized, the information which is put inside the IFC files themselves. So every time you need to study the model and find the information. So in this project, the goal is to harmonize the key the key parts of the information that is needed for building permit processes. It won't be all the information which is needed for building permitting, but at least we could start from somewhere and kind of take the first steps and in that way help kind of the readability of the IFC models, so that you can trust the information which is there.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. We should go back to Frank's short question. What are the consequences of not getting more involvement? Do you think we have enough involvement to produce a useful deliverable?
Yes and no. Of course, I know that it's really. Let's say that in many countries, they are not even thinking of using IFC or any BIM format for their building permitting purposes. And of course, for those type of authorities, it's really difficult, of course, to participate in this kind of project where we are kind of where we have some countries who are already maybe piloting, or for example, in Estonia, they are already using the IFC as one of the, or in Norway, where they are using the IFC as one of the formats in building permitting. So the maturity levels are really different. But so yes, we can, with this group of participants and countries involved, we can develop something. The kind of the backside is that it will be really it will be kind of in a way country specific. So of course, if we have 5-6 countries developing a standard, or in this case IFC, it won't be country specific, but still it is kind of lacking maybe some things that are needed elsewhere. So in that way, I would hope, I'm hoping that we will get more stakeholders after some point. If we have 20 countries involved, I think that after that, we have reached the critical mass in a way, and the things that are required in other countries are not that significantly different, and then we can actually provide a really good international standard. But I think that we would need the critical mass, which would be, in my opinion, somewhere between 10 or 20 countries.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting that we've expanded the regulatory room steering committee, and we can therefore hope to get inputs from, for example, Singapore and Australia, who have had projects in the past and ongoing projects in this area. I think just to answer Frank's other question, we have been promoting this and active within the EU network for digital building permits. Now that's mainly it's a group with a strong academic and research basis, and many of those activities have got links into local government projects. So yes, we are having those conversations and picking up on the conversations to find out if there is any scope. And that's why I said that some of them are just beginning and may not have results for a year or so. So yes, we're reaching out, and in May I will also be reaching out to the European group of building regulators when they meet for their annual session. So I think we are doing the outreach to find the activity. So that's underway. Tomi, the one comment from Ali Ismail: most regulators reject the concept of automatic checking, and when they start to accept it, they usually have very high expectations. Checking rules which need engineering sense or very complex methods.
Yeah, my aim is a little bit lower than automatic checking, because automatic checking, I would, in my mind, in the roadmap, that the first step is to capture from IFC the data which can be done without without any further analysis. So information which is easily read from the models. So it can be materials, it can be well, of course, identification data, like the location, things that don't need any calculations, basically. That would be kind of the first step. And once we get that data solid, and we can trust that that process works, then next step would be kind of to start analyzing the data and using that to compliance checking and checking, for example, escape routes or stuff like that. But I think that we need to. I think that at least in my mind, in past developments and in past projects, the problem has been that you put the goal really high, which is kind of it cannot be achieved, and then you are very disappointed. So I'm putting my bar a little bit lower in the level when what can be achieved and that we can jump over, and then once we are solid with that, and then we can move to the next level. Part of the building permit, well, of course, in all processes, but I think that in building permitting specifically, the reliability of the data, that's one of the key things. So you need to rely on the information that you get from the models, for example, and so we need it can be really simple things. It's for technical people, it's many times even it sounds ridiculously simple things, but I think that we need to solve these simple things first before we can move further and go to more kind of details or more complicated issues.
Okay, I hope we've addressed most of the questions and comments that have come up in the chat, and thank you for engaging. If anyone feels we haven't answered the question or has any more questions, then please do speak or repeat your question just in case we've missed it. But I think to sum up, we think that we have enough engagement to make a start on this. It may be that it would be great to get more involvement right now, but it may be that it'll only be when we start making proposals that people can see, as we discussed, the sort of the fact that we're trying to address the low-level metrics, individual properties or attributes that are needed worldwide. We're not trying to standardize law. And I think so. We're pressing on. I have a particular battle with the English government at the moment, that they find it very difficult to engage internationally. But I remain pressing at the door to try and do that.
I think that is kind of that's kind of a global thing that for governments and especially for local authorities, it's difficult to see that what benefits you can get doing things internationally. The kind of you don't see the goal, but I think that we because we are using the tools that we are using, for example, to build up the models, the authoring tools, they are not made here in Finland. They are not made in Norway. Well, some of them are, but I would say that most of the tools that we are using, they are international tools, and so in order to get the information into these tools that we are using, we need to have international standards. We need to have international rules, and I think that that's something that we need to understand also on the local level.
Okay. Two more comments have come in. First of all, Douglas Brita, please, thank you for your support. We will share the slide with our email address shortly, but it's regulatory@buildingsmart.org, and we can pick up the conversation. And Oyvind has remarked that it would be a good idea for the regulatory room to have a yearly update on what's happened with BIM and regulatory around the globe. And that's a very good reminder to me to say that tomorrow, starting at the same time, our third regulatory room session will include some updates from 3 countries around the world, and we will also I'll be picking up on our roadmap and trying to classify those 3 initiatives. We're also starting to develop a library of international projects that we're aware of. So yes, we do want to ramp up our monitoring of what's happening around the world. Particularly, I mean, I think the academic threads, you can search for those. There's lots of means of finding it, but to find the commercial or proof of concept projects, I think it's particularly important to be aware of what's going on. And so on. So yes, I hope some of you will join us at the same start time tomorrow for our global update, which we do every 6 months. And if others feel that they would like to present their national efforts, we will be doing the same session again in the near future. So
and besides those 2, like the global sessions that we have along with these summits, then we have the open house sessions. So we have like a regulatory room session every 3 months.
So yes, so we want to do that outreach, and we want to feed back where we can what we're learning about global activity. So excellent. I think that's probably time to close. So could you just share the contact details again, Tomi?
I hope that you have.
Yes, there we are. Yes,
yeah,
there it is. Yep, good. Regulatory@buildingSMART.org, and like to thank Tomi for leading this project, and I'd like to thank all the attendees for listening, for contributing, for pushing the discussion forward, which has been very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.